Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by the all-new season of the FXX animated comedy Archer, Danger Island, premiering Wednesday, April 25th at 10 p.m. on FXX. Season 9 centers on the semi-functioning alcoholic seaplane pilot Sterling Archer as he navigates the mysterious and deadly world of Danger Island, located on the lush South Pacific island of Mitimotu in 1939. Along with his trusty co-pilot Pam, he must navigate quicksand, cannibals, super intelligent monkeys, poison darts, and pirates, among other things. Watch the all-new season of Archer, Danger Island, Wednesdays at 10, starting April 25th on FXX. XX.
Lock the gate!
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fucking ears, what the fuckadelics, what's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, WTF. Welcome to it. A big blues show today. It's almost like a blues concert, but not, I would not say that Marc Oliver Everett from the Eels is a blues artist, but I would say that there's a heavy-heartedness to it. Wouldn't you, Eels fans, say there's a heavy-heartedness? That's what makes the Eels beautiful. That's what makes the music beautiful. There's a new Eels album out. It's called The Deconstruction. It's available now wherever you get your music. I haven't talked to Marc in a while. He's been here before, but he's on the show today. And also, very exciting, Ben Harper and Charlie Musselwhite. Charlie Musselwhite is one of the originals, man. He's one of the original new generation blues guys from Chicago, around back in the late 60s, early 70s, been going ever since. Ben Harper, from his Ben Harperness. He's been around a couple of decades now as well, but not as long as Charlie Musselwhite blowing that harp. And this is the second album they've done together. It's called No Mercy in This Land. Also available wherever you get music. And both of these acts, like both Marc, Oliver Everett, and Ben and Charlie do a tune. Now, I got to be honest with you. We do post some of these interviews out of order. They don't go in the order of when I recorded them. But I will tell you this: Ben Harper and Charlie Musselwhite were the last interview in the old garage. You'll be hearing other interviews from that garage, but I thought you might want to know that this was the last one. I thought it was appropriate and coincidental that a pair of blues artists did the last blues in the garage, and they do play some blues, and that was it. I got to get this place. I got to get the new place up and cranking for the music situation. I do like when people play music in front of me. Marc Oliver Everett also played a tune that was recorded in the old garage. These are some of the final interviews from that garage, though there might be some from a few months back. I'm just telling you, if you wanted to point a reference for the end of that situation over there, this is what's going on. And I'll tell you, man, to sit there and ride the faders when Charlie Musselwhite's blowing harp, it was one of those situations where, Everett just had a guitar, an acoustic guitar. I can just stick a mic in that. But, Charlie and Ben, we didn't know if we were going to be able to do it. And they had, they came in with two Fender Champs, not old ones, but two little Fender Champs, one for the harp and one for Ben's guitar. Everyone's going to be playing today on the show. So listen, I'm excited to bring to you my conversation with Marc Oliver Everett. I always enjoy seeing him. He's a thoughtful and bright young man, and his new album with the Eels is called The Deconstruction. It's available now wherever you get music, and this is me talking to Marc Oliver Everett. Is this your second or third time?
Second.
It's only the second time?
It seems like I've already done it.
You seem familiar to me. You're timeless.
Thank you.
Yeah. You look well.
Yeah, you too.
It's been a while since you've been here. I don't remember. I think it went well the last time.
I think it went really well, yeah. People seem to regard it as a good episode.
A good Mark E. interview.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fans are like, that was good. I learned some things.
Yeah.
I thought I knew everything about you.
Yeah, it's like someone finally got under his skin and opened him up.
Oh, come on. Come on. You did it to yourself. So, but that was a few years ago, man.
Yeah, that was like 5 or 6 years ago.
I feel like I've run into you a couple times. Is that what's happened over the years?
Well, we saw each other at the, we sat next to each other at the Garry Shandling
Oh, that's
Memorial.
right. That was kind of...
What an amazing night that was.
That really was.
We were in the front rows, you, me, and Tom Petty.
Yeah.
Did you talk to him?
I didn't get to talk to him. I've never talked to him here. You know, he looked fragile.
Well, I had an experience with him afterwards. It was...
Is this a good experience?
Notable. Yeah, it was a great experience. It was the only time I've ever met him. We just all happened to walk outside onto the sidewalk after...
He was having a smoke?
He was having a smoke, and he literally fell off the curb, and I caught him in my arms.
Oh.
He was free-falling, you might say.
Yeah.
And so I'm holding Tom Petty in my arms, which later became very poignant after he died, and you heard about his hip problems. I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
I just thought he was stoned.
Right.
And he was just so nice. He was like, hey... I've been listening to you for a long time, and I was like, wow, that means a lot from you, Tom Petty. I don't know, I called him Tom Petty.
Yeah.
And we just like sat out there and shot the shit for a while. It was great.
Yeah, he seemed like a pretty sweet spirited guy.
Super sweet, from what I could tell.
And he's been listening to you for a long time.
That's what he said, to my face.
Did he know you? Was that the moment of introduction?
That was the only time I'd ever met him.
When you fell, you told him who you were, and he went, "Oh, I know you," kind of deal.
Well, I didn't say who I was because I had played a song during the.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
Service.
That was great.
Thanks.
That's right.
Yeah.
You did. You were up there with the sadness.
I was up there with this. I brought the sadness.
Elevating the sadness. What tune did you do?
I did. It's a Motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
What? And remember, like. Warren Beatty and Annette Bening were right behind us. Like, it was the closest I'll ever get to sitting at the Oscars,
Yeah.
It was crazy. But that was such a beautiful night. That was like one of the best nights I think I've ever had. Like, it was just a full experience.
It really was. And I didn't know Garry that well. I had interviewed him, but to sort of feel the kind of his whole person come together through other people's eyes like that, sadly at a memorial, but it was, really kind of registering the impact he had on other people was phenomenal. It
was like everything you want, laughter, tears, and hopefulness, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was genuinely life-changing for me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, me too. And I really identify with the whole Garry thing, and I feel like I've been on a similar quest, my version of it,
Did you know him? Like, in what?
I never knew him. I've been in the same room with him several times, but I never actually had the nerve to talk to him.
Which quest? The spiritual one?
Well, not the spiritual one so much, but sort of, the self-improvement quest, Sore spot?
I just don't know, man, because I know about it and I've engaged in it, but to really engage in it, to go full in, that was sort of one of the things about the Shandling story and about that night that kind of blew me away, was that there were things that, he went to as far as you can go to sort of get spiritual and get self-improvement.
Right.
And there were some areas of his life that I don't feel, from in retrospect and how it was, being presented by his peers, that he had much success in fixing them.
Well, I think, there's a clip that I just saw recently that might be from the
doc,
the Judd doc. I think I saw a clip of Sarah Silverman saying, it wasn't that Garry was so zen, it was that he was so in need of being zen.
Yeah.
And I totally identify with that. It's like guys like him and guys like me who are on those kind of quests. It's because we fucking need it. It's not like because we're experts on any of it. We're trying to, it's like on this new album, way to tie it in.
The deconstruction.
Yeah, it's like I'm not an expert in any of the songs on this album. If I'm talking to someone in one of these songs, I'm simultaneously talking to myself, or maybe I'm only talking to myself, and just, it's all like notes to self. This is, if you want to live better, try this,
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly I've had my experience with that, and the need to have some relief is, and to surrender at that level. It requires some sort of surrender, right?
Yeah, right.
And to live in that vulnerability is, it can be a tall order if you have things to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is like, it's work. It's like vigilance.
You're going to live on a monastery and all you got to do is your chores.
Then it's
probably a little easier.
Right.
If you can just deal with the detachment.
Right.
But if you have to go out there in the world, and especially if your creative process is driven by, the fury of malcontent,
right,
or self-annihilation, or self-judgment, whatever it is, self-involvement,
right.
How do you shift?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's not easy. It's, we'd all be like perfect people if we all knew
Well, is this a concept album?
No, for a long time, I didn't know I was making an album. I took what turned into a 4-year break, basically, since the last one.
Didn't you have a kid or something?
I have a kid now, yeah. Yeah, spoiler.
How old is that kid?
He's only about 10 months old.
Well, how did I know that?
I don't know. How do you know that?
I don't know, but I felt it.
I don't feel like you'd be a good babysitter.
No, I'd be a fine babysitter. I don't know how great a father I'd be in the long run.
When can you do it?
I don't know. We'll check my schedule after this. But that's 10 months.
Yeah.
And okay, so you didn't know you were making this record?
I didn't know I was making a record, and I was just like, I just needed a break. Like if you do too much of one thing in your life for too long, it catches up with you. I don't know if you have any experience with that. But.
Sure. Yeah, I do. Yeah. You start to lose your mind.
Yeah. Well, in my case, it was work. Like that's all I paid attention to pretty much for going on 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just an incredibly unbalanced life.
Right.
And so I got to the point 4 years ago where it just became very clear, like, I need to take a break and start to pay attention to the other side of life.
Yes.
All the other sides of life.
Yeah. And the child makes that a pressing situation.
Well, that didn't happen right away. That only happened 10 months ago.
I know. But I mean, like, that's one of those things where it's sort of like, my God, you're forced to be selfless.
Right. Yeah.
And show up for, in a way that, is I imagine it's somewhat innate, but it's certainly, the good time, the other priorities thing, living life becomes very immediate.
There is a lot of innate stuff that does happen that, is nice that it's just automatic,
Thank God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God you have that in place.
Yeah, no,
You're
like,
not a psychopath.
Yeah, like you probably think you're not a kid person and all that stuff. And, I was basically like, that's not in the cards for me at this point. I'm so fucking old.
How old are you?
I'm like your age. How old are you? I'm
54.
54.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And you have one.
And I have one, and I'm just getting started, which is insane because like all my friends are like becoming empty nesters, and they're like, we'll see.
Finally, we're free.
I guess we won't be seeing you anymore. Don't ruin this for us.
Yeah.
But you do become like when it's yours, like all the cliches that people say, it's true. It's like, you become the guy that like I'll just sit there and just flip through and play the same videos of him over and over again, and just like you make strangers look at pictures of your kids. It's just
fascinating.
It just happens, and it also then you become like a kid person in general. You start to understand other people's kids, why they're so great too. And,
right.
It's just this thing that happens.
You're part of the cult now, the kid cult.
I'm part of the cult. And it's quite a pleasant surprise to see that you can become that.
Now, was this an on purpose kid or
no? This was a surprise kid.
Oh. That's good that you like him.
We made him the old-fashioned way, by surprise.
Are you with the woman? Or are you?
Well, the other surprise is then his mother has divorced me.
Oh,
yeah. So that was another surprise. That was not something I had in mind.
Were you wait? So you were married?
Yeah.
And then you had the kid?
Yeah.
And then she's out.
Yep. In quick succession.
Wow, that's kind of heartbreaking, or was it time? I don't know.
No, it's been devastating for me, but and a lot of what this album is about is like this I think the key to happiness, if there is one, is
please tell me,
accepting your reality and just making the decision to be happy with it, or as happy with it as you can be, you know?
It is a decision, huh?
It's a decision. I mean, that's...
For people like us.
The last song on this album is specifically about that there's a place we can all go to within ourselves that's just a place where you can make a choice. And just say, like, well, this is my reality. I'm going to be happy with it, or I'm not going to be happy with it.
Right.
And that, you know, it takes work, and it's hard to do. But, so take my situation that's happening right now. It's quite an extreme, unexpected situation for me.
Yeah.
But I'm able to look at all the good parts about it. You know, it's not how I pictured things turning out. It's particularly wrenching for me after all the tragedies of losing my first family early. You know, I was the last one standing.
Of your father and your mother
and my sister.
And your sister, yeah.
So to then finally get to a point where I have another family,
and
then have it taken away, is very painful, as you can imagine. But there's so many great things about it. You know, my son, Archie, is fucking delightful. I'm completely in love with him.
Yeah.
His mom is a great mom, and like watching them together is inspiring. It's just this amazing love story. And we're able to maintain a friendship, and she lives right down the street. And it's still, you know, it's got an unconventional family vibe, at least still.
Yeah.
So again, it's just like not what I pictured, but there's a lot of things to be thankful for. And, you know, I just have to hang on to the good parts of it. And, and it's always that's really all there is to life, I think, is it's just always going to be some sort of shitstorm. It's just a constant motion. You just have to get comfortable with the motion. I think when I took this break, I naively thought, okay, all the drama of my life is over, and now it's going to be calm. And amazingly, I had like one really nice, calm year that was just like the happiest I'd ever been. Yeah. Because it was everything I wanted. Yeah. And I actually got it. And
like what?
It was just like relaxing for a year and just doing fun stuff. Yeah. And not worrying about anything, you know? Yeah. And it's amazing that it lasted that long. And then it just all went out the window, and now it's like just crazy onslaughts that couldn't be the more opposite of that. And, you know, it's just, that's what life is. That's what my life is anyway.
Well, I was so close to, I think, in my mind doing that, like just pulling out and taking the time, and then it didn't happen. Yeah. Like I was almost going to buy a house in New Mexico, and then I ended up down the street.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and so like, but because I let people convince me like it wasn't time to put myself out to pasture yet.
Yeah.
You know, like there's still work to be done.
That's what I thought when I first started this break 4 years ago. For a while, I actually felt like I might just be done. Right. And I don't know if I'm ever going to get back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. And how'd that feel?
It felt like just necessary at the time. Like I just had...
You were okay in that moment with being done.
I was okay because it was like that thing where life lets you know you need to stop. And it was only like... I would just give myself the luxury of if I woke up one morning and I was super inspired to write a song, I'd go and write it and record it. And then it might be like 6 months before I had that happen again. And then
so that's why this wasn't a planned record.
It wasn't a planned record. It slowly turned into a record, yeah.
So like in some ways, you know, there was a natural evolution to these songs.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to make a record if you have that luxury of that much time, because it's just song by song. It's very feel driven. It's just all about like, what's this song about, and that's all you're thinking about.
And you might have actually been, you know, doing some sort of, you know, emotional and spiritual geometry with them. Like, you know, like you were working out.
Without knowing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, because when you feel the impulse to make some sense poetically of something.
Yeah. And it often means something other than what you think it means at the time.
Yeah. Now, the arc of the thing, do you, like, you know, the deconstruction, that song and the title of the record, do you like, does it all fall under that?
Well, what I was thinking about there was like, you know, a personal deconstruction of like how we all spend a lot of our lives building up these defenses and these walls around ourselves. And I was just thinking like, well, if we tore down those walls and those defenses, what's there that we're protecting? What do we start with?
About a 5-year-old?
About a 5-year-old tops, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like a fight, like whatever we're protecting was something or someone that was old enough to be hurt somehow in such a way that he was going to hide for this amount of time.
Yeah, and it's in my face all the time now with my son. You know, you're just like, all you see is this sweetness and innocence and natural joy, and it's just like, oh, it's heavy, you know.
Well, how old were you when you found your dad dead?
18, 19.
No, so that was before that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to pinpoint. Like, I'm jealous of people that have like a distinct incident.
That was the day that it all went bad.
Yeah, my situation was so weird and complicated, and, you know, basically I was just sort of, you know, kind of raised by wolves.
Yeah.
In terms of like everybody meant well, but they just weren't equipped for the situation.
Sure. Yeah. No, I know that feeling.
Yeah.
But like, I feel that like when I get to the edge of it, and I imagine that, you know, though, when you have a child and, you know, whatever time you spend alone with that child, you know, there's no risk of vulnerability there for you either. I mean, the kid's wide open, but like you can actually probably let go and connect in a way that's sort of
it's
transcendent.
Exactly. It really is. It's a great like reminder and way to see it in your daily life. Like, yeah, you can just be open and.
Like my question is, what do we think's going to happen? You know, what can't we handle? You know, if we're open. Do you know what I mean? Like,
right. That's what I'm asking in the song, I guess, is, it's like, what, you know, why are we, like, this is all bullshit, you know, but we're just, like, so invested in it for so long.
But we're grown people.
I know, and we're just, like, trying to protect our 5-year-old selves.
Yeah.
It's idiotic.
Yeah, it is. And then, like, but, you know, the other part that I've noticed, I've talked about a little bit, is that, you know, all the other parts of the 5-year-old, the sort of hypersensitivity and the anger, it all operates at the same emotional tenor, and it's just not appealing coming out of a 54-year-old.
No, it's not. It's embarrassing. We're fucking
it is
embarrassing man-children.
Right.
If there's any, like, one sentence I could distill, if there's one message of this whole album, it would be, try to be more Mr. Rogers and less Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing, like, that's the 5-year-old thing we all lost.
Yeah.
And at its worst, with all the defenses, it turns into Donald Trump.
Right. Just complete no self-awareness, no shame, no empathy, very little conscience.
Yeah.
Completely self-serving.
Yeah.
America.
Spoken like a true loser.
Yeah. But no, I agree with you. Well, I'm glad. Did you find? It seems to me that you lucked out with the kid, because maybe after writing all these songs, then the kid comes, you're like, all right, well, this is the shortcut.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it was just an album like, you know, John Lennon's Double Fantasy, and it's like, you know, I'm married and domestic bliss is the answer to everything. I think it's much more of a meaningful affair, this situation, because it's like, it really is about like rolling with the punches, and life is, well, another John Lennon quote, like, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Oh, yeah. You know? Is that him?
Yeah, that was on that album, actually. So I just sort of went against my own theory there. But
do you love John Lennon?
No, he was a hack. Of course I love John Lennon. Yeah, he was the greatest.
Well, you want to play a song?
Sure.
Are you prepared to play on that little guitar, that dinky guitar?
I'm going acoustic, because of the last time I was here, I went electric, and the fans were outraged.
Were they outraged?
It was like Dylan at Newport. No, nobody cares. Keep in mind. Yeah. Keep in mind, I'm quite rusty. I haven't done this for 4 years, and
you haven't played a guitar.
I have. Well, no, I mean, I did in the studio some, but I haven't performed. Well, also, this is the first live performance of any song from this album.
Exciting.
Is that exclusive enough for you, Marc Maron?
Yeah. You want to do it?
All right.
I'm gonna.
This might take me a few tries.
All right. I'll be on the mixer.
I'm gonna try to do this in one take, but I can't promise I'm gonna make it.
We can do more. Okay. I'm just gonna ride the faders.
You ride the faders. All right. Here we go. Today is the day that I chuck everything I thought out the door. Today is the day I ask myself, what the hell was I living for? That's right. Today is the day it starts right here. Don't got a thing to worry about now. Today is the day it starts right here. I thought about it, and it's kind of strange. Everything that I tried so hard, I thought about it, and I gotta say, I had it wrong right from the start. That's right. Today is the day it starts right here. Don't got a thing to worry about now. Today is the day it starts right here. Come on, man, don't you worry now. Everything that I thought that I believed, oh baby, was all so clear to me. But now I know that I was wrong. It's gone, it's gone, gone, gone. It's all right now. Today is the day that you see me as a man who will always change. Who knows the only things to count on? Life is quick and life is strange. That's right. Today is the day it starts right here. Don't got a thing to worry about now. Today is the day it starts right here. Come on, man, don't you worry now. I don't know if you'll come along. I just wanted to sing my song about change. Today is the day.
Nailed it.
Was that all right?
Yeah, man.
All right, fuck it. One take.
One take.
One take every 4 years. That's all I got to do now.
The focus, man.
Whew, it was intense.
You got it.
All right.
Well, congrats on the new record, and it was great seeing you, and congratulations on the child. And I'm glad that even though it's difficult, the family situation is working.
So far, so good.
All right, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, talk
Good
to you
see
again soon. That sounded good, huh? The old garage. That's what the old garage sounded like, playing music in it. Again, the new Eels album is called The Deconstruction. It's available now, okay? And if you want to hear my full talk with Mark from back in 2013, it's episode 371, and you can get that with subscriptions to Stitcher Premium or Howl.fm. Dig it. So now let's discuss, well, you know what, before we discuss anything, we're sponsored today by Simply Safe, and here's why I am on board with telling you about Simply Safe Home Security, because Simply Safe is ready for anything that gets thrown at it. If a storm takes out your power, Simply Safe is ready. If an intruder cuts your phone line, Simply Safe is ready. Say they destroy your keypad or siren, Simply Safe will get you the help you need. And hey, look, maybe it's overkill. Maybe you don't need to be ready for every single worst case scenario, but Simply Safe is always ready, just in case. That's what makes it great. Believe me, folks, I can always think up a worst case scenario. I'm doing it now. And if you're the same way, you're going to like having the peace of mind that Simply Safe brings. Simply Safe could and should cost you an arm and a leg, but it doesn't. They're good folks over there at Simply Safe, and they charge you what's fair, what's right, which means $14.99 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. What more can you ask for? Go today to simplysafe.com/WTF to check out all their home security options. That's simplysafe.com/WTF. Okay? Now we're going to travel into the real blues. You know, Ben Harper's been playing some pretty sweet folk and blues and singer-songwriter stuff for many years. Did a beautiful record with his mother not long ago. And he did another record with Charlie Musselwhite. Charlie Musselwhite, one of the great blues harp players of his generation. That being the second generation, I would think you would call him. The ones that learned at the feet of the Sonny Boy Williamsons, of the Little Walters, you know, of the James Cotton, he was there, man. He was in Chicago, and Ben and Charlie have done this beautiful record. And I don't listen to a lot of new blues, but this is a beautiful record, beautifully produced. And you'll hear the song that they play after I talk to them. That's the title song of the album. No Mercy in This Land is the name of the record. You can get that now. But, it was interesting when because Ben's got a lot of history, himself. And, but Charlie still has all the old blues history. So there were stories coming out that clearly Ben hadn't heard. So me and Ben are just sitting listening to the old blues, the blues veteran laying down some old stories from the old times. And that was great. It was a real treat. And again, this was the last conversation and music played, as far as a guest goes, in the old garage. So this is me talking to Ben Harper and Charlie Musselwhite. Let's break down a little bit. It's sometimes with two cats, I'll probably single one of you out for a while, and then you come back and forth. I had Taj Mahal and Kebmo in here, and Kev didn't say anything. It wasn't his fault. There's a lot of listening and learning. That was the story there.
Class is in session
for sure,
permanently.
Yeah, always. And I knew this has got to be the way it's always going. But let's start with going all the way back, because I was thinking that Charlie, because of the length of your career, and that you're still alive, thank God, that it seems that you were able to not only see the development and the birth of rock and roll, but you were also you really sort of firsthand were able to see the electrifying of blues music. Like, you were there.
Well, pretty much.
Where did you start out? Where were you born?
I was born in Mississippi, and I was raised up in Memphis. And
Memphis
was full of music back then.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem the same today, but you mentioned seeing rock and roll beginning. It's interesting that Johnny and Dorsey Burnett lived across the street from me.
No shit.
And I used to hang out over at their house. And Jimmy Griffin, who had a band called Bread, lived next door. And all of us would just kind of hang out. And
did you play together a lot?
No, well, I remember they let me go on the steel guitar they had.
Because you were a kid?
Yeah, I mean, they were. I remember one day I was over there, their eyes were real red. I went home to my mother and I said, them boys across the street, their eyes are all red. My mom said, well, I guess they've been doing a little drinking.
A little bit. A few days worth.
Charlie, were you born home, hospital?
I was born in a hospital in Kosciuszko, Mississippi.
And how long did you live there?
3 years, and I continued to spend my summers there.
Oh, really? So you've
just
got
down the road from Memphis.
But you still have a connection to it.
I have a home in Clarksville, Mississippi.
Yeah?
And Sonoma County.
When did you start playing harmonica?
Oh, God, well, it was a common toy. It seemed like everybody had a harmonica, and I just kind of toot around on it like a little kid and just making up stuff.
Yeah.
So when I was about 13, I'd been listening to blues and going around Memphis looking for old blues records, and it occurred to me how much I loved the way the original Sonny Boy played harmonica. And
the first Sonny Boy.
Yeah, and other people too. And I got to thinking, well, you have a harmonica.
Right.
It feels so good listening to them guys. Why don't you take it and teach yourself? So I went out in the woods and just kept messing with it. Since I was already familiar with it a little bit, it kind of came pretty easy.
Really?
It seemed logical.
Yeah. So, like, talking about this period, Ben, like, you grew up around this music?
I did.
But you were like a kid. I mean, what are you, a little younger than me? I'm 54. What are you?
I'm 48.
You're 48?
Yeah. And
you grew up here?
I grew up in Claremont, California.
Yeah.
Which is in between here and Joshua Tree.
Yeah. And what was that? What was the background? Because I did a little research, but it sounds like, you've got a, it's interesting that both of you, because I just saw that documentary Rumble. Did you see it?
No.
There's a documentary called Rumble on Amazon, and it's about the influence of American Indians in rock and roll. And they go back to Charlie Patton. Like, they Link Ray and Charlie Patton. They go back to Charlie Patton, whose grandmother was an Indian, and they had modern Indian singers, women who actually did traditional music, were able to track some of the melodies in Charlie Patton recordings that were actually indigenous people melodies.
There you go.
Do you have any sense of that? I mean, because you both have Indian in you, right?
That's what they tell me.
Yeah, same. I got to do one of the genetic. I got to get to the bottom of that.
So you don't know?
It's rumored,
right?
But I have to do Ancestry.com.
Yeah, me too. I know it's all going to come back Jew, but I'm curious which part.
I'm
of
there too.
Are you too?
Yeah.
Jew. Good.
I got like 9 nationalities. I'm a real American mutt.
But it does play into everything from your attitude to your personality to your sense of humor to your creative output, doesn't it? I mean, whether you wanted to or not, you just can't escape genetics.
Well, it just sounds to me like that. Well, I mean, tell me about your dad and mom weren't together.
No, not from a young age. Time I was 6, they were done.
And your dad was he was the one with the supposedly had some Indian in him.
Yeah.
And your mom was Jewish.
My mom's Jewish. My dad's black with some Indian back there.
And what was the environment? Because it seems like the musical environment was very defined. Your grandparents?
It was rich.
Yeah.
In music from all over the world.
Well, where was it? Tell me about the place.
My family's had a music store called the Claremont Folk Music Center. It's also a certified museum.
Yeah.
And it's been here since 1958. We're celebrating 60 years this year of family-owned, 5 generations.
It's still there?
Tuesday through Sunday.
It's still there.
Still there, man. We should take a drive out there. We would. Jay Albert, our mutual friend, we grew up neighbor to neighbor. Our one wall separated his house and mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's how you know John?
That's how I know John.
So tell me about this store, though, because it was since 1958.
You have to see it to believe it, man.
But it doesn't sound like it sounds a little bit like the place on Bleecker Street. Like in New York, where Dylan and all those people hung out during
it's as if Bleecker and Haight Ashbury had Woody Guthrie and Joan Baez's child.
Yeah. Wow. So it was just filled with stuff.
And Ravi Shankar was the godfather of both of them, or something.
You got some of that. You got some of that in there too.
Oh man, I mean.
So they deal with folk music from around the world.
It was world. My family's music store is the reason America calls world music. It didn't used to be world music. It was just music from around the world.
Right. So they integrated it intellectually and commercially. They made it available.
Right. That's right.
The thinking around it.
That's right. And if you throw on top of that a love of a literary passion and love by my grandparents and my mom.
Yeah.
That's
it.
The environment.
So you got all of it.
Yeah.
You got literary, like poetry, and you got folk music.
Yeah. And you get a youthful teenage hip hop rebellious kid in me.
Yeah.
Then mash it all together.
No kidding. So do they do live performances there and stuff?
Yeah, we still have the best open mic within 100 miles, north, south, east, west in LA, last Sunday of every month.
And this is in Pomona?
Claremont.
Yep,
one town due north.
Well, who used to who'd you see growing up? I mean, I imagine it sounds like a pilgrimage worthy place. Did people come and?
I looked up one time, and my grandfather, he was in World War II, lost an ear. Didn't lose an ear, pardon me, not Van Gogh style, but lost his hearing in an ear. And the ear he could hear out of wasn't great. So when he'd tell you he was going to lean in with his good ear, it was still a struggle.
Yeah.
But that said, he used to restore instruments and was kind of the patriarch of the store.
Yeah.
So I look up, I had come from the back, I used to do a lot of repair work in the back of the shop. So I look up and there's Leonard Cohen with a pile of stuff.
Yeah.
He had, and my grandfather was getting to the end and was just charging him full price.
Right.
And I look up, I'm like, oh, it's like Chris, my grandfather didn't play music, didn't listen to a lot of music, but loved instruments.
Right.
So he didn't clock it was Leonard.
Yeah.
So I instantly said, excuse me, Grandpa, let me handle this.
Yeah.
And I piled all these instruments, and because I think he was buying stuff for kids. It was like the holiday season.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Family members. I piled everything in the bag and charged him $5.
Oh, wow.
I said, Mr. Cohen, thank you for a lifetime of incredible music. He says, oh, thank you for your generosity.
Were you?
Oh, I was in my 20s.
Oh, so you knew.
Yeah, I knew right away.
You knew the power. So they weren't musicians, though, your grandparents?
My grandmother, on the other hand, was an extraordinary musician. She played dulcimer, auto harp, guitar, banjo, sang like a bird, wrote songs.
Old school. Dulcimer.
Yeah.
Any dulcimer in your background, Charlie?
Only except when I played with Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, really?
She said, "Nothing says blues like a mountain dulcimer to me."
And I love that they call it "ain't no notes on a dulcimer, you just play."
Yeah, is that true?
That's the saying.
It's such an odd instrument. All right, so but did you? What was your experience with blues music at that time? Did you have any?
Well, the store was centered around American roots music, which is folk and blues, and other things, but to the point of the store and my family's passion was folk and blues. And blues was the first music that spoke directly to my spirit and soul. Yeah. To where I just couldn't, I had to get in it.
Do you remember which one?
Mississippi John Hurt, Baby Right Away.
Oh, yeah? Really?
That's it. I said to my grandma, I said, "Who are these guys?"
Yeah.
I was about 18. I said to my grandma, "Who are these guys playing?" She said, "It's just one guy." I said, "No, there's two guitar players."
Yeah.
Or it's got to be at least two guitar players. My grandma said, "No,
it's
just one."
Because he's hitting
guitar player,
the high strings,
double thumb and high string, and picking. And I instantly sat out.
I think he's Taj's guy too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had Taj in here he took me all the way back to Senegal.
Yeah.
He picked up that old K guitar to show me where Skip James came from. And all of a sudden he's back in Africa doing those sad notes, that timing that you can sort of hear through Skip. He did it for like 45 seconds and I was like, "Oh, just keep doing that. Could you do that?" He knows that shit.
From Senegal to the Silk Road in China.
Yeah. Trip, right?
He can lay that out for you.
So the blues spoke to you, but ultimately, I guess your early records, there's definitely a blues vibe on it, but
for sure,
yeah,
I've
definitely
bent it around. I've stretched it as far as I could.
Yeah.
By the time I've come back to it in full form.
Yeah. So Charlie, when you're down there, you're learning how to play harp. You're in Memphis. There's a lot going on. You know the Burnett guys. How old were you when you started playing with people?
Oh, well, probably around 16 or 17 or something.
Yeah.
I first was real fascinated with the street singers that I would see downtown in Memphis and on Beale Street. But I was too shy to talk to them. But I would follow them around, listen to them, watch them. And in other parts of town, too, there were some street singers. Anyhow, later on, I got to know Furry Lewis and Will Shade and Gus Cannon and Memphis Willie B. and Earl Bell and all these guys that played. And they were really welcoming to me. They were flattered that I would seek them out to hear them because they liked their music and they believed in it.
Yeah.
Here's a young kid that likes it too. All right.
Yeah.
So they were glad to have me come around and learn from them. But I didn't know I was preparing myself for a career. I'd have paid a lot more attention. I was just having fun. I was just a kid. I wasn't thinking about this is something I was going to do.
And you would play with them?
Yeah, we would just sit around in their homes and pass the jug around. And just have these spontaneous jam sessions.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, I wonder. I guess that happens still. I don't. It's just so interesting to me to sort of be. A witness of the source of this stuff, the evolution of the music. Because you and I came to it later, listening to it, right? But you saw, I don't know when when Wolf and Muddy and those guys ended up in Chicago, but it couldn't have been much before you, right?
Oh, they were maybe 10 years or something ahead of me. But these guys I knew in Memphis were the old timers compared to Muddy and Wolf.
They were like folk blues, right?
Yeah. Well, later on, when I knew Big Joe Williams, I'd walk into Pepper's Lounge, and man, Muddy would act like a little kid, like it was his hero. When Big Joe had just been a single guy playing a guitar going down the road, as he used to put it.
Yeah.
With his hat on backwards, he would say.
Yeah. So when did you start seeing yourself as a professional bluesman? Doing making the gigs, making the money.
Still working on that.
But when did you start playing professionally?
It's hard to say. I don't remember the first time I got paid.
Yeah.
I like to think that when my first album came out, that gave me a career and put me on the road.
Yeah. And that was it.
That was a big turning point. Another turning point was when Muddy had me come sit in with him, and that resulted in me getting gigs around Chicago.
So when you moved to Chicago, it was in the 60s?
62.
And you started playing, so everything was electric up there, right?
Not everything. Like I mentioned, Big Joe Williams.
Yeah.
He would play through an amp, or he'd just play solo. He was like a folk blues guitar player. He wrote "Baby Please Don't Go," and it was his hit.
Yeah. And so where were people playing? Mostly bars.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the University of Chicago would have a folk festival.
Oh yeah.
And you would hear they would hire somebody like Big Joe or the Stanley Brothers and mix it all up, Barbara Dane and stuff like. So either in coffee houses where they had folk music and occasionally a blues folk player, or in the blues clubs that I would go to that most people that didn't live in the neighborhood wouldn't dare go.
Mostly black clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or the festivals. That was it as far as I knew.
Yeah. So like and so the first record that didn't come till what 67. So you're hanging around. Who else is around? Like is Howlin' Wolf's there?
Yeah.
And Butterfield's around.
Yeah, everybody's there. Only guy I didn't get to see, and he was there, but he died before I saw him, was Elmore James.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then I found out later he was staying just around the corner from me with Homesick James.
Oh really?
But Homesick, he liked all the attention on himself, so he never told me that, hey, come by and meet Elmore.
And how much time did you get to spend with like people like Muddy and Wolf and stuff, or were you?
Lots and lots. I mean, I just those clubs were real affordable to get into, 50 cents or $1 or something.
Yeah.
At the most.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were just free. You just went in. So all those years I was in Chicago, it was. I mean, you think, well, who would I want to hear tonight? Little Walter? Sonny Boy? I don't know. Little Muddy? Well, I saw Muddy last night. Wolf? I mean, Chicago was loaded with the blues back then.
Isn't that crazy, man?
I know. It's all gone now, it's pretty much.
Hubert Sumlin?
Yeah, Hubert. I'd see Hubert all the time with Wolf. And he'd hold his guitar like straight up and down.
Yeah.
And just be rocking with it.
Yeah.
And his hand would just be flying up and down.
Yeah.
And he'd be looking at it like, what am I doing? How do I do this? And rocking and playing. And then later on he was more sedate.
Yeah.
Man, when he was young, he was ferocious.
He's got a very crazy, unique sound, that guy.
I couldn't believe. I mean, the audience would just be pinned to the wall with this sound coming off the stage. It was. And
okay, so let's talk about the harp players. So like because you're probably about the same age as Butterfield, right?
More or less. I can't. One of us is like a year older than the other one. I don't remember.
Well, yeah, and but at that time it was Little Walter. The old guard was what? Little Walter, James Cotton,
Sonny Boy. And a lot of Good Rockin' Charles and Big Walter Horton, a lot of obscure harmonica players that people wouldn't recognize.
And like because like I guess Little Walter is the first guy to really have a harmonica hit, right?
As far as I know, Juke was like a huge hit.
Yeah, yeah. And what was his style? Like, what do you like? How do you define something?
Well, when he got to Chicago, he was playing like the first Sonny Boy, real country.
Yeah,
and that was his big influence. Then in Chicago, he got exposed to a lot of horn players, and he started listening to them, and I can play that, and his phrasing started changing and becoming more urban.
Oh yeah,
yeah, or even jazzy. I mean, he's phrasing like a horn player instead of a guy out in the country.
That's funny how those instruments cross pollinate, because like even with Chuck Berry's riff, that's what's his name, Johnny Johnson. That's a piano riff, right?
I remember seeing Chuck in a club going to see Little Walter.
Oh, really?
He was at the bar next to me. Man, that guy really looks like couldn't be. What would he be doing in here? And then Little Walter says, I got a friend, Chuck Berry. And Chuck Berry goes up and just plays some Stone Killer blues.
I bet.
Not no rollover Beethoven.
Oh, really? Yeah, I bet he could do it. Like, that's all those T-Bone Walker licks. They're all of them. All the licks are T-Bone Walker.
Real sophisticated.
Right.
Yeah, but you can also go straight back to Robert Johnson with a lot of those licks too.
You can
early kind of Delta.
Yeah, you got to slow them down a little bit.
Yeah.
And figure it out. How many Robert Johnson songs have you recorded?
Probably a half dozen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's your experience in sort of going down that well?
Well,
like, you know, how do you handle it?
They're so complicated,
right?
Too, but I like to pick them apart and come as close to the original as I can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to be a little bit lazier, but nowadays I really like to get them down.
Reverse engineer it.
Exactly. There's a great local player named Fran Bannock.
Yeah.
And he is a master at it. I mean, you can sit in front of Fran and learn Robert Johnson. He's a great local player. Used to teach at McCabe's. Great player. Yeah. I used to sit with him and watch him do it.
Really? So like, so you've gotten more proficient as time went on with that slide?
Yeah, like come on in my kitchen and stuff like that, just with getting that down. And Robert's a great one to pick apart and go note for note till you got it.
Because I saw, you know, I talked to John Hammond in here not long ago.
Charlie knows John.
Yeah.
I love John.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's a really good guy.
Yeah.
You know, and like.
His dad, too.
You did? Yeah.
Whoa.
But what was interesting to me, you know, talking about owning the blues and going deep with them and making them vital, was I saw him at this weird, like it was like I was visiting my brother in Tucson, and the Tucson Blues Society or something had him out. And it was just by coincidence. And there's like 40 people in the room, and he was there with that National Steel, that dobro or whatever it is. And he did Hellhounds. And like I was like I couldn't even breathe.
I saw John do that at McCabe's.
You did?
I saw him. Yeah.
I get chills just talking about it.
Yeah, no, John is scary. John's scary, man. Like
I don't like. Where does that come from? Like, because he stops playing. He's like, "Hey, how you doing?" Nice. He's like, "Where's the guy that just played that?"
But I say that about a lot. Like you'll hear Adele.
Yeah.
And you'll hear her in between songs. Like, oh yeah, you don't know. It sounds like a British librarian.
Right.
And then she just digs into the song and pins you to the wall.
Taps in.
So I don't. Yeah. None of us are who we talk. We're definitely who we sing.
I guess so. Something changes.
Yeah, something shifts.
Yeah, there's the whole being shift. It's weird because it happens with music, happens with sex. You know, you kind of go out and then you land. You come back and you're like, okay, I'm back, but I was just somewhere else, right? So, well, in talking about that, you're like, I don't know. I guess it's just natural. But when you talk about Robert Johnson, as a grown person, as somebody you go back to, because I've found that with Hendrix too. That, you know, I keep, you know, anytime I listen to Hendrix, it's sort of like, was that always there? Like, you know, you're able to experience the music differently as you get older. Like,
isn't it true? It resonates so differently the older you get. I recognize that. What is that?
Crazy? I don't know what it is. Genius is what it is. It's like, it's the testament of the work of genius, because like you as you get more sophisticated or more emotional, or more fragile, you know, different things resonate. But I'm surprised at how you could really feel Jimmy in almost every note. There's a rawness to it that like, that whatever his virtuosity is, at the core of it is completely impulsive and full of feeling. And do you find that when you go, have you had experiences when you dig into like Robert Johnson or any?
Yeah, Robert and Jimmy are as close as you can come in the human. Robert and Jimmy, and by the way, Charlie Musselwhite,
yes sir,
is as close as you can come to hearing. It's as close as you can come to the source.
Yeah.
Without, I mean, like when Charlie gets done playing a solo,
right?
It's like it's not that he stopped playing the solo, it's that they kicked him out because he was getting too close to exposing the sixth sense.
Getting too close.
Yeah.
You can't stay there too long, Charlie.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll know something we're not supposed to know.
Yeah. Or not.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And he puts you right there, and Jimmy and Robert, they put you as close as you can get to the source and survive it.
Yeah.
Because they're reaching for something too hot to touch and too bright to see.
Isn't that something?
I remember a Robert Johnson story that what y'all are saying reminded me about the kind of the mystery and the strangeness of Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
And I think it was Johnny Shines that told me this, because they used to travel together and play together.
Yeah.
And one day they were in some little town in the South, and there was a preacher on the corner, and he had a crowd around him.
Yeah.
He was preaching, and Robert walks right up next to him and starts playing like the dirtiest blues he could think of.
Right.
And chased everybody away. And the preacher said, "Young man, I don't know why you did what you did, but you're going to have bad luck." And as they're walking away, Johnny says, "Man, why did you do that?" Oh, and he was blind,
the
preacher. "Why did you do that?" He was just a blind preacher trying to make a buck. He chased everybody away. And Johnson's reply was, "Ah."
That was it.
That was it.
The power. He unleashed the
But
power on those
I mean,
people.
what was that about?
But you just heard a story that was one person removed.
Yeah, from the real thing.
From Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Well, I guess that was his attitude.
Why
right?
did he do that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Hello, Satan, it's time to go. You were knocking on my door. I mean, maybe there's more to it than we really know.
Sure, man. I believe it. Maybe that was the deal he made.
Maybe he did sell his soul.
Maybe. It's a great story, and nobody really knows, I guess.
No. It's at least as good as Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that was the thing about that was what I wanted to get at was I think that in this record and also the last record you guys did, like I think you guys, you tap into it. There's something, the songs are beautiful, but I think that you make it vital again. The music.
Thank you.
In order to make the blues vital for a younger generation, you need a special kind of kid. How do you get those kids in there? Do you ever think about that?
I think about it on the opposite side of it when I look out in the crowd and see these kids, seeing Charlie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, we played Irving Plaza, right? It was kind of our coming out. It was our first gig that we played together.
When was this?
This must have been 2013, Charlie? Yeah. Around the time Get Up came out.
Yeah, 13. For Get Up,
For Get Up, for our first record. And we played Irving Plaza. We didn't want to overshoot. I didn't want to oversell it or try to, grandstand with it. We booked Irving and didn't even know if that would, just figured, okay, let's go. Sold tight. It was to the rafters. After Charlie's solo, his first solo, people, I got witnesses to this, all right? Mark, so help me God, with witnesses.
Yeah.
It was at least a 7.5 minute ovation. After the first song, maybe it was the first song, maybe it was getting close to the end, but after one of Charlie's solos, song ended, and people were clapping at heated rapture.
Yeah, we're hurting them
for Charlie.
Yeah,
and they wouldn't stop.
That?
And I would come to the mic and I'd say, and they just like, no, we're not ready to stop. kept going. Finally, after 5, 6, 7 minutes, stepped in and we just didn't even know what to do. And it was all because they were those kids seeing Charlie for the first time.
Right.
And it was.
They'd never seen anything. The real shit. They got hit.
No expletives necessary. Hit. And it was as if they were seeing something that I can't explain it, man. It was supernatural though. It was crazy.
No, I believe it.
I saw those faces going, okay.
Like where did that come from?
Like
authentic stuff.
I've never felt. I don't know what this is. What am I feeling? What the hell am I seeing?
Well, that's great, man.
Yeah, it was hip.
So
am I exaggerating?
I always felt like properly exposed, anybody would love blues.
Sure.
I mean, and all those people, they might have heard or had some preconceived idea of blues, but when they got hit with it, it was like, good God, where's this been? I never heard anything like that. I thought blues was supposed to make you sad. I'm feeling like jumping up and down and being happy.
Yeah.
Which is the blues will do.
And who do you think, like in that it's weird because you hear a lot about the popularization of the blues by the British guys who took to it first before it really got kind of turned out here. But who do you think were the guys that when you saw it really started to just rock out the blues? Was it just Muddy and Wolf and those guys?
Well, I heard a lot of stories about kids would say, I went away to college and my roommate had a Rolling Stones album, and we noticed some of the tunes were by some guy named Muddy Waters, and then we discovered Muddy Waters, and I heard variations of that story over and over. I still hear that story.
Yeah,
and I guess it's pretty common. So there's a lot of credit to be given to those English groups that were doing American blues. Manfred Mann was another one.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
brought attention to it.
Paul Jones is the harp player in that band, and they were doing straight ahead blues.
And they were good.
Yeah.
So now both of you guys have done like Grammy Award winning records with the Blind Boys of Alabama.
Yeah, I was on
one, and then you were on one.
Yeah,
maybe more.
Made a full length with them.
Yeah,
produced it.
Yeah, that was you and them.
Yeah,
and you played along with them, or you just on the whole record.
I toured I sang with them too.
What's the history of those guys? How'd you guys come in touch with those guys?
Kevin Morrow was their manager, and he was my manager.
Oh, that helps. Yeah.
But I'd been a fan of theirs for a long time. I had 45s and albums of theirs, and love a lot of their tunes. Still listen to them.
And they've been around a long time.
Oh, yeah.
And how many of the originals are still there?
I don't know.
I think
Clarence is around.
He retired.
He occasionally will come out to appear with them.
Yeah.
But
Jimmy Carter too. When I worked with him, I was so motivated because I grew up with their music.
Yeah.
My family in our music, they were on constant rotation, as was Charlie.
Yeah.
And so, growing up with their music, they had covered a song of mine called "I Shall Not Walk Alone."
Yeah.
And I caught wind of that.
Which album is that one from?
That one is from, I think, maybe Spirit of the Century.
yeah.
And I should know the song. I shouldn't slip on that. But it's
and they covered it and it blew you away?
It was on Spirit of the Century, matter of fact.
Yeah.
Floored me and made the connection. We did a show together.
Yeah.
I opened up for them for me, something like that. And then the connection was made. They came to me to produce a record, and I wrote and produced a record with and for them, and it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah.
Got out there.
Yeah. It's like that whole strand of American music, gospel music and stuff. I don't know enough about it, but it seems to be a very unique thing, and the drive of it seems to be, fairly essential in unto itself.
It started the Five Blind Boys of Alabama.
Yeah.
That was their original name.
Yeah.
And there were the Blind Boys in Mississippi. It was a whole, man, once it was proven that you could actually get out from under, like, weaving baskets or making brooms at a blind school or academy. You could actually lift your voice. Yeah, that's how they got up out of there. They were singing while they were all at an academy, Tuscaloosa, is it?
Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Tuscaloosa, school for the blind. And they were there making brooms, production line brooms, and the people were telling them, you'll never go anywhere else but here, so get comfortable in that seat. And on their breaks, they would sing. And they sang their way out of making brooms to the world stage, man.
That'll motivate you.
Making brooms.
And when by the time we connected, there were still 3 original members of the 5. George Scott.
Yeah, who was the first guitar player.
He used to play guitar for him, right?
Right. He was their first guitar player.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Carter and Clarence Fountain.
Yeah.
And to be able to, the 3 of them as the core nucleus of the Blind Boys, man, when they would open their mouths to sing, man, you just have to sit and wait for the hair to rest.
Yeah, I remember.
Back onto your skin.
Man, I listened to the hell out of that. And it almost made me find Jesus.
They were on a show with all these.
And that's no small feat.
No.
They did a show where it was all gospel groups.
Yeah.
And most of them were really young. I mean, they've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And all these groups they're so full of energy, and they're jumping around. They got choreography, and you're sitting there thinking, how are the Blind Boys going to handle this?
Right.
And finally it comes time for the Blind Boys. They walk up, and Clarence says, I didn't come here to find Jesus today. And people are like, what? It's like blasphemy.
Yeah.
Because I brought him with me. And the whole place goes nuts. And from that point on, Clarence had him in the palm of his hand. I had a collection of the Sam Cooke, and who was he with, the Soul Stirrers?
Yes. Yes.
That stuff, man.
Yeah.
Right? Because when I look at Sam Cooke thing, then I'm like, I got to get these Soul Stirrers records. And it's like,
Mary, don't you weep?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And just to see how his voice, like, even within that, because I read I read some of the book about Sam, how his voice sort of, like, stood out somehow in a way that you can't even describe. No one's ever sounded like that before, right?
No.
It's nuts. And you do, it seems like you do, you've done several records with other people. You like working with other people.
I do. I love collaborating.
And the record you did with your mother was amazing.
Thank you.
That's an amazing record.
Thank you.
Like, I get choked up thinking about getting along with your mother that well.
Yeah, it was. It was fun. She had a great time. I had a great time, and she brought half the songs. I brought half. We'd been talking about because my mom, she stopped making music to raise 3 boys.
Yeah.
So to be able to bring that back into her life at that level was just a true privilege.
How old was she when you did? How old is she now, or does she not like you talking about that?
Kick my butt.
Okay,
you know
all right,
that.
yeah. But I mean that song, that album,
at least 20 years older than me.
Of course. There you go. Childhood Home. But like what was amazing about hearing her and the songs that you chose is that some of that stuff is real folk stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, and I can hear it in both of your, in the melodies.
Okay.
And the harmonies.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's right there.
So it was like, it really was like going home in a way, huh?
For sure.
Wait, now you brought 6 and she brought 6. You mean you wrote them? Are they all?
So yeah, she brought her strongest collection. I brought mine that would suit the material.
Of stuff that you wrote.
Of stuff that we wrote. All original material. And the trick you find real quick.
Yeah.
Because I had another 6. She had another 6. We each came with about 10 songs. There's only so many types of songs you can duet with your mom and your son.
Oh,
certain things just don't pan out.
Yeah.
As good as the song might be.
The subject matter's not right. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But she harmonized beautifully.
Thanks. Yeah.
Did you guys sing together when you were a kid? I mean,
that's what coming up when my mom would be rehearsing for her band, so she could really get the part down. She'd teach me the harmony. I'd be a 7-year-old kid singing a harmony line to a Dolly Parton or an Emmylou Harris song.
Oh yeah,
yeah, taking the harmony line.
And what do you got? 2 other brothers?
2 younger brothers.
And are they in music?
They both make music. They both love to make music.
And that's their job. They're in the music biz.
Not so much in the way that I am.
Right.
But one of them's wanting to make music, and doing his thing, and yeah.
Now, what have you found? Because, I assume that, separately, you guys have, very different fan bases in a way. Now, because you sort of made an impact, I guess, in the late 90s, 2000, and you built a pretty good career for yourself, being a very thoughtful songwriter. Because I know that, I don't know what your relationship with Jack Johnson was, but you guys were friends at some point.
Yeah. Jack used to come to shows and
because you started him out.
He started opening up for me.
Yeah, I can't forgive you for that, but that's okay.
No, man, Jack is the shit, man. Jack is a badass.
All right, I'm not going to shit on Jack Johnson.
No, you cannot, please, not in my presence.
No, he's a sweet guy, sweet music, but what I'm saying is that it was a huge appeal, right? But it didn't necessarily resonate with me. And I think that, listening to your albums, which I have a few of that I've listened to, it was a different vibe, but I think it was a broad appeal, right? You got a pretty good following from that stuff. From your music, your solo stuff, and some of the other stuff. Yeah,
man. I mean, listen, it's made its way there. I've known when I'm in the valley looking up, and I've known when I'm at a peak looking down. And
right.
Yep.
But how many do you find of the people that have been with you for decades? Do you see them out there?
I do. We have a front row crew.
Yeah.
My band is called the Innocent Criminals.
Yeah.
And there's a core crew where you start to recognize them, and we call them front row innocent criminals. So they're FRIC. We're BHIC. They're FRIC.
Right. Yeah.
And I've never wanted to be a WC Fields, I guess, not wanting to be a member of a club that would let me
Groucho,
Groucho, excuse me.
I think it's Groucho, yeah.
I think you're probably right.
Yeah.
And I've always subscribed to that.
Yeah.
I'm too nonconformist to start a fan club.
Right.
Or insult people with having one. But there's one that's kind of formed in a very unconventional way.
Yeah.
Just from being there.
Yeah.
They're like, we're with you, motherfucker. And I'm like, I'm with y'all, motherfuckers. And we're here. And so it's game on, and they're FRIC, man.
Are they coming out for you too? When you guys go out?
Man, I could show you an email right now. What I've taken to doing.
Yeah.
See, I don't have a formal fan club, but it's so informal.
Yeah.
That it's taken on a life of its own, and that there's email connections, and I'm emailing and I'm connecting them with my tour manager. So we have these sound check parties for FRIC.
Oh, nice!
They get to come to sound checks.
Yeah,
they're fed. If we have catering, they have catering.
Oh, nice!
Right? So get sound checks. They get food, and they're the first ones let in the door.
Oh, that's sweet.
So it's pretty. It's
fun. Oh, that's great.
It's unorthodox, but
and they've probably been with you for decades.
If not 2.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And what about you, Charlie? How are your fans holding up?
They're still showing up. We're still having fun.
Do you know some of them? Do you know people that have been coming to see you for 50 years?
A lot
40
of them
years?
I know just from email, or I don't know even their faces.
Oh yeah, you don't see them.
But they constantly. I was there last night, and I love that tune, and blah blah blah, and I'll see you next, and all this stuff. And so there's a lot of that kind of stuff that I get.
When did you move to the Bay Area?
1967 in the fall to play at the Fillmore. That was my first gig.
With your band?
Yeah.
And how was
and Butterfield and Cream. It was the last.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That must have been crazy.
Well, I'd never been out of. This is my first time to actually be on the road with this new album.
Yeah.
My first album, and I had no interest in going to California. I didn't even know anything about California.
Yeah.
I was having so much fun in Chicago, but I thought, okay, I'll go out there and play this place they call the Fillmore.
Yeah.
And, man, I got to California in, I don't think, 10 minutes.
Did you drive or fly?
I flew out, And 10 minutes went by, and I knew I wasn't going back to Chicago.
Oh, really?
This makes sense. People are nice, and look at those pretty girls.
Yeah. And in the 60s, it must have been crazy.
And the whole West Coast had these a lot of places to play that way unlike the little joints I was playing in Chicago.
Yeah.
So this was a step up.
Well, I think Bill Graham did an amazing thing, right? Because, like, you know, you could do a straight blues band, and you could do a psychedelic band, and you could have a soul singer on. Like,
same bill.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty astounding.
It was great, yeah.
And everybody got along pretty good?
You mean
like on a bill?
Oh, yeah, everybody was trading. It was just a big party.
Yeah.
Love and peace. I mean, getting high. And, I mean, it was great.
Crazy small fact. We did the Music Cares event for Bruce Springsteen. It was big, and we did Atlantic City. Me, you, myself, and Natalie Maines, and Jason on guitar.
Wasn't it in L.A.?
It was in L.A. I'm just to say that Bruce came up to give his acceptance speech.
Yeah.
And he was like, Charlie Musselwhite. I used to open for him in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He was out there for a couple of years.
Yeah, I remember playing in a club called The Matrix, and him and Santana opened for me there.
But it wasn't the E Street Band. They had another name, right? It was a rock band, no? Or was it Bruce Springsteen?
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, right. Yeah. You remember him, though, right? As a kid?
Yeah. I wasn't a kid.
He was. He was. Yeah. You knew Mike Bloomfield, too, huh?
Real well. He lived a block away from me for a long time, and I was living in the back of a record store, and he'd come over, 3-4 times a week, and we'd just hang out.
Which record store?
It was called the Old Wells Record Shop on Wells Street in Old Town in Chicago.
Didn't Big Joe live there, too?
Yeah, and Big Joe Williams lived in the back, too.
Really?
That's some shit.
Was that when
we were living in the basement of another record store?
Which one, Delmark?
Yeah, well, it's called the Jazz Record Mart on Grand Avenue at State, and Joe didn't like Bob. I mean, Joe really hated Bob. I mean,
what's his name? Bob Kostler?
Kester.
Joe
hit him in the head with the phone because Bob thought he had been on the phone too long. Anyhow, I got in a fight with Bob, and I remember leaving the store and hearing Bob standing in the doorway hollering, I'll never pay you the money I owe you. So I moved over to this other record store, and Joe had been out of town. When he came back and found out what happened, he was real happy. He moved in with me. So we were both back there.
Now, why was it an obvious go-to to move into? Most people would move into an apartment, right?
Yeah, you think.
Why
the record store? Another record store.
Yeah, well, I knew the guy and I hung out there a lot, and he was a real character. At one time in the 40s or 50s or both, he had the largest black-owned record store on the south side of Chicago.
Yeah.
And all these jazz guys hung out there, and they all knew him, and now they would come visit him at his little store in Old Town. I met a lot of, Sonny Stitt and Jackie McLean and Roy Eldridge. I mean, guys like that would just stop in to see Bill.
And hang out?
Yeah.
And you listen to a lot of jazz?
Oh, yeah, because there were all the clubs right around that little area.
Yeah.
All these jazz clubs. Since the doorman knew me, I could go in and see all these.
What was the jazz scene at that point? Was it like hard bop or bebop, or what was going on? What year?
Well, you had Roscoe Mitchell and the Chicago Art Ensemble.
Oh, yeah.
Malachi Favors and Jody Oreo and Sonny Stitt and Jackie McLean would play. And gosh, you name somebody.
Speaking of that era, are we talking about like Lionel Hampton, Toots Tillman's?
Not big bands like that.
Okay.
More like trios or quartets.
Okay.
Did that have an influence on your playing?
Well, probably. I mean, I was listening to how horn players phrased for ideas.
Yeah.
Just like Little Walter did.
Yeah. And you get them? You could hear them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it made sense to me.
Yeah.
It was just a natural
Both read instruments.
And
Yeah.
all good jazz players start out playing blues.
Yeah, that's
if they
true.
come from the classical into jazz, it's stiff, and
right,
brittle.
right, yeah,
But
yeah.
If you come
yeah.
from the blues, it's got that grease.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So the new record that I have here, or the one we're talking about now, No Mercy in This Land. That song's a heavy song. You're going to play that song, right? We're going to try to
play that today.
Yeah. what was how long did it take you to put this one together, and what was the process of writing it?
The record took 5 years.
Wow.
When we walked out the door from Get Up, I said, man, I think we might have something here.
Yeah.
And I set to, between the release of that record and this one, set to putting pen to paper.
But did you do so you did the one with your mom in between then?
Yeah.
And you did one with your band?
Yes, exactly.
But you were working on these together?
All the while, I just wouldn't let any of the songs that I knew would fit Charlie that I would be writing. I just put them away. That one's for Charlie. That's with Charlie. I'd know they have a certain thing.
Yeah. So 5 years. And then you'd send them to Charlie? You just said, I'm done. Come on, Charlie, let's do these.
Pretty much. It just sort of the time opened up. The songs, material was ready. Yeah. And we were just ready. Right, Charlie? It wasn't a defined thing so much.
Yeah. No, we just went in and we all knew what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the music led us.
Yeah.